Hello, friends. Welcome to today's chapter from Ken Schoolin's book, The Adventures of Jonathan Gullible, A Free Market Odyssey. I'm your host, Trey Holcomb. I'll be reading with the author's permission from chapter 23, The World's Oldest Profession. An economist is someone who sees something that works in practice and wonders if it will work in theory. Ronald Reagan. The old herdsman's tale left Jonathan more perplexed than ever. The bazaar of government sounded intriguing, so he decided to go and see if anyone could help him get his money back. "You can't miss it," said the old herdsman, preparing to lead his cows away. "It's in the palace, the biggest thing on the square. You take the main portal. That's for you, flanked by two enormous windows. The window on the right is where people line up to pay their tax money in. The window on the left is where people line up to take tax money out." "I can guess which line is more popular," joked Jonathan. "That's for sure. Every month one line gets a little bit shorter and the other gets a little bit longer." The old man tightened the hitches and gave a tug on the lead. "Eventually, when one line disappears, the other will too." Sure enough, all streets led to the town square. On the square stood a magnificent palace. Words carved in stone over the huge entrance read, "Palace of Lords." Mises, his tail standing straight up, had followed close to Jonathan's heels until he had started up the broad steps leading into the building. The cat's back arched slightly and his hair bristled. This was as far as he would go. Jonathan trotted up the steps until he stood before the grand entrance. Spread out before him was a gloomy hall with ceilings so high that the lamps could not light the interior completely. Just as the old herdsman described it, several booths lined the hall, displaying several different banners and flags. People paced before the booths, calling to every passerby and pressing pamphlets on them. On the far side of the hall stood a great bronze door, flanked by large marble statues and fluted columns. Jonathan started to walk through the hall, hoping to avoid the sellers of governments. He had not moved 2 steps before a mature woman with gold bangles on her wrists and large earrings accosted him. "Would you like to know your future, young sir?" she asked, approaching him. Jonathan looked suspiciously at this voluptuous woman wearing vividly colored scarves and heavy jewelry. He quickly checked his pockets, though he had nothing more to lose. She continued aggressively, "I have the gift of foresight. Perhaps you'd like a glimpse of tomorrow to calm your fears of the future." "Can you really see into the future?" asked Jonathan, backing off as far as he could without offending her. He regarded this brazen woman with deep suspicion. "Well," she replied, her eyes flashed with confidence, "I study the signs, and then I declare, affirm, and profess whatever I see to be true. Oh yes, mine is surely the world's oldest profession." "Fortune teller?" remarked Jonathan, surprised at the claim. "Do you use a crystal ball, or tea leaves, or—" "Beelzebub, no," snorted the woman with disgust. "I've become much more sophisticated. Nowadays I use charts and calculations." With a deep bow she added, "Economist at your service." "How impressive. E-con-o-mist," he repeated slowly, rolling the long word over his tongue. "I'm sorry, I've just been robbed and I don't have any money to pay you." She looked annoyed and turned away to look for other prospective clients. "Please, ma'am, could you tell me one thing?" pleaded Jonathan. "Well," the woman said irritably, "when do people usually come to you for advice?" She looked around to see if anyone might overhear them. Then she whispered, "Because you have no money to pay me, I can let you in on a little secret. Clients sometimes come whenever they need to feel secure about the future. Whether the forecast is bright or gloomy, especially when it's gloomy, it makes people feel better when they can cling to someone else's prediction." "And who pays for your predictions?" asked Jonathan. "The Council of Lords is my best customer," she replied proudly. "The Lords pay me well. With other people's money, of course. Then they use my predictions in their speeches to justify the taking of more money to prepare for the murky future. It really works out well for both of us." That must be quite a responsibility, said Jonathan. How accurate have your predictions been? You'd be surprised at how few people ask me that, chuckled the economist. She hesitated and looked him carefully in the eye. To be perfectly truthful, you might get a better prediction with the flip of a coin. The flip of a coin is something that anyone can do with ease, but it never does anyone any good. It will never make fearful people happy. It will never make me rich, nor will it ever make the lords powerful. So you can see it's important that I conjure impressive and complicated forecasts to suit them, or they find someone else who will. Thought Jonathan. It is the world's oldest profession. And that is the end of chapter 23. I will see you tomorrow with chapter 24, Booting Production. God bless you and have a good day. Thanks for watching.